It was a gun.
I'm not voting.
If we want to build our nation.
The problem with the Somalians.
Just want to experience something else than a black man.
Move on, move
Can't be
forward.
like a horse with blinkers on.
Honestly say, I was about to have
Corrupt
sex and then I pulled
crap,
up.
but it's nice. My name is Lwazi Mbanza. I'm a feminist, I'm an activist, and a researcher.
My name is Kellen Buerta. I am a trans woman, initially from Durban and currently living and working in Johannesburg. I am a communications consultant for Iranti, which is a Johannesburg-based organization focusing on the rights of lesbian, trans, and intersex persons in South Africa and the continent broadly.
I'm Karabo Sibitwani. I'm trans, FTM. I used to be a feminist and an activist. I stopped because I wanted to get paid, so I went corporate. But I'm still close to the issues because, man, I think for me being an activist or a feminist, it was coming from a personal situation.
My name is Crystal Hendricks. I'm from Cape Town, South Africa. I am from an organization called Intersex South Africa. I'm currently the chairperson of Intersex South Africa.
My name is Seoketi Mooketi, artistically known as See Your Power, the power that will not go away. I'm from Bokonu Bupirima, a rural Black, I identify as a rural Black, poor, powerful trans woman who comes from the most disempowered, disfranchising township in the Northwest Province.
I went for a job interview. I was this bubbly, happy boy who knew what he wanted. It was a conversation, but my interview was like I was talking to the managers. This time I would say, yeah, my name is Karabo. I aspire to know. Like, I could tell that I got the job. So now we're going through the CV. There's this one guy during the panel. Everybody is loving me, but everybody loves these ideas. So when you jump to the floor, you're going to be. So I think we had a nice interview and we even prepared how my life would be when I get onto the floor. This guy is looking at my CV and I was like, I should have, but maybe let me give him some time. And I knew exactly what he was looking at. Why did you say other on your CV? And I was like, oh yeah, about that. So I think I managed to create an environment where I can respond to your thing, but then this is the thing. And everybody on the panel was like, oh my God, I can't believe it. Are you saying you are? So I got the sense that some of the people on the panel were so respectful so much that they were not even willing to. So now this guy's like, no, the other is because I'm trans. I'm in the process of transitioning. So when you look at my ID currently, it's still 0626. So what it means, I still need to go apply for. It was like, oh wait. Are you saying you are these people? I just knew it there. I lost this job. And had I gotten that job, my guy, I would probably be a manager somewhere.
I was born with your typical female genitalia, and it wasn't discovered that I was intersex at a later stage in life. When I did a test at about the age of 23, it was discovered that I have a XY chromosome, where normally females would not have an XY chromosome. Also, I was born without a uterus, fallopian tube. So I basically had none of the internal sex organs that your typical female would have, like, as per how society defines men and women. So therefore, I am intersex.
I got a nice job, but then I didn't have a bank account. And it was 2 weeks before payday, bruh. And I'm like, I need to get a bank account, my guy. I'm not going to be dealing with getting money or check. Like, I need a bank account. So great stuff. I went to FNB. Everything went well, man. We did the biometry system. Home Affairs can pick me up. I previously had an account with FNB. I lost the card. So it was a process that could have taken approximately 15 minutes. I was at the branch for like 45 minutes because I had to move from inquiries and I had to go to this other office. And then this lady came through, two of her friends came to take some files. But then I'm sitting there, and for me, I think they were having a conversation, or go check. This is the person. So in my head, I'm like, you know what? If you were to ask me, I would tell you that, guys, this is not fraud. It's me. Yes, maybe we look like twins, but then why would the biometric system pick up the same ID number? They're like, oh yeah, we wanted to ask about that. So is this really, really you? And I'm like, yeah, this is me. So what I'm trying to say is that even though the bank proved beyond reasonable doubt that this is actually me, I had to be in a situation where I get it now. It's these two ladies. So I had to create the system of rapport. Like, it's okay, Sharp. In order for you to believe that it's me, I can show you. So yes, I think that was the most shaming part of my life. I had to get to a place where I had to unzip and show her that actually I was. Yeah, I'm like, oh. So the response I got was, instead of, oh my God, I'm sorry for putting you through that, you're like, oh my God, I didn't believe it. I'm like, wow. So all of this was so that you just wanted to see.
I just want to allude a lot of Karabo's points, specifically coming from a rural poor perspective, whereby so many Black trans women don't have, the capabilities, the resources, nor the language. So even when we ourselves as activists, progressive activists, as we are engaging right now, someone in Bokone Bophirima does not have the privilege that we have right now. So that's why sometimes I feel like when we are in such spaces, people that are really supposed to be in such spaces are supposed to be in such spaces. Like, I know for a fact, I can't just travel to Bokone Bophirima because traveling for me is personal and political, because I'm more worried about what happens if I drop my identity document? What happens if I drop my student card? Who do I then? Because literally, when I'm being clocked and outed, my life is done. Because now I'm more concerned about, wow, am I still going to be able to get inside the taxi? And bear in mind, it's a public transportation. Other people, when we speak of privilege, have never ever really used any form of public transportation. But for a typical poor Black trans woman in rural Bokone Bophirima, in Northern Cape, in Umtata, still has to go through this rite of passages, whereby you are more worried about, oh my God, am I going to be allowed to go back into this taxi? Or am I going to come back as a cop? Or am I going to arrive back at home as a cop? Or even when you leave the house, the most concern that I primarily have is, am I going to leave as the woman that I left, aesthetically speaking and personally and politically speaking, or am I going to come back as a corpse? Because we know for a fact that Black girls in rural spaces are poor, are constantly disfranchised. They don't have space where they can just go and literally just say that, listen, I'm dying. And there's no space that still affirms them and literally informs them that I see you, I hear you, I feel you.
When an intersex child is born, they get assigned, the gender that the medical the doctor decides what gender the child would be. And they obviously operate on a very heteronormative binary way when it comes to gender identity. A lot of intersex children, when they are born, they are subjected to non-consensual medical unnecessary surgery, which we call IGM, intersex genital mutilation. Also, they just assign a gender, or they will perform harmful medical surgeries to conform this child to a certain gender, because they want you to fit that boxes, of male and female. And even though in South Africa there is some legal frameworks for intersex people, to seek and to protect and recognize them, like we have some in Act 49, the promotion of equality and prevention of unfair discrimination. However, as an intersex person, you still don't have that self-identification and that autonomy over your body, because even if you are assigned a certain gender at birth, and then later in life, that is not how you identify as per that gender that you were assigned or the surgery you went through, you cannot just walk into Home Affairs and say, hey, I'm an intersex person. I was assigned this gender at birth. However, that is not me. This is who I am and this is how I identify. No, you have to go through psychological processes. You have to go through medical processes. You need to basically prove you are who you are, which for me is insane, because why do people need to prove who they are? Because we know who we are.
So as much as we speak of progressiveness in the queer, trans, non-binary, intersex, perspective, we should also never really divorce folks that are really on the ground, because there are ground forces, people that we are really never ever speaking of. Someone right now as we speak is being raped. Someone right now as we speak cannot even go and report a case at a public service point, because the first person that, or the first question that you're going to be asked is, but how do you mean you were raped? You say you are this, but you are this. Your ID says this, you are this, but you are this. So then what then happens? Do we even have a language? Do we even have a space that creates these socioeconomic, political, realistic conversation, no matter how uncomfortable they are, but they are critical? Because I feel like I'm at a phase whereby I constantly tell society that it's not my responsibility as a Black trans woman, as a Black woman, as a Black rural woman, to teach men how to be safe, or to teach men how to treat me. It's not my responsibility. The responsibility that men have is making sure that we are not unsafe, we are not uncomfortable in spaces of navigation. We can't be constantly giving Black men narrative as to go about protecting Black women. We don't need protection from Black men. We don't need protection from men. What we need is safety and securitization.
The ID book was replaced, I think, quite a number of years ago, wasn't it? I think it's been almost a decade now that the old ID books have been replaced with the smart ID card. And I think this is one thing that a lot of trans, gender diverse, intersex activists have been unhappy with in the new ID card, because even though it has certain additional security features which are valuable, it has in big bold letters M or F on that card. And you heard from Karabo's own experience the issues around already just not having an ID number which aligns with your gender identity. In the old ID books, it was just the ID number. So perhaps if a computer system saw that you had a female ID number and you were a male, it would reject that. Or if you went through a process or something at a bank or in a workplace, someone would pick it up and that would cause problems. But on a day-to-day basis, if you are stopped by the police, if you are just living your life, the average person doesn't understand or know or is aware that the ID number codes differently for different genders.
So I feel with this identification management process, I feel like there's really room for self-determination and self-identification. You know, who I say I am. If I say I am a intersex woman and my marker is male, I need to be able to walk into Home Affairs and say, hey, I want to change my gender marker.
My dream in the context of this conversation is, I think, for the many very valid issues that Sio and Karabo brought up around sort of the lived reality on the ground to be addressed and to become a thing of the past.
My dream is to demolish the hashtag super straight, because wow, hey guys, it's lit.
My dream, I would say, is just for people to understand that intersex people's rights are human rights.
My dream is to make my first million this year.
Yeah, Z, you should ever sit and talk with people, or else take a walk and create a straight talk. Talk what is nice, it will make you feel stronger. Listen what is right and say what is wrong. You should ever sit and talk with people, or else take a walk and create a straight talk. Talk what is nice, it will make you feel stronger. Listen what is right and say what is wrong.